Let me ask you a very, very difficult question. Are you being a bully to yourself? What's up, Unbroken Nation? Hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. Are you being a bully to yourself? Like really think about this for a second. Are you pulling yourself down or are you raising yourself up? For so many of us, our self narrative has been bathed in this idea that we are not worthy. And one of the really interesting things I think that I've discovered over the years is this juxtaposition of weighing worth, value, validity, valor, virtuousness, all of these things about whether or not I'm showing up for myself every day. And I think that there is this space that we exist in where we can tend to bully ourselves out of creating the life that we want to have, which I would argue is probably the most dangerous thing that we can do as human beings is to tell ourselves, to belittle ourselves, to stuff ourselves down and say no, can't, don't, shouldn't, won't, right? All the time, people will say try or should or maybe. And I think that those words are so defeating that you're immediately setting yourself up for failure when you use them, because it's really easy to say, oh yeah, I should be this way or I should try that thing, whatever that is, but there's no execution on the backside of it. And what happens is in that moment of the try or the should, we basically find ways to make sense of whatever is in our head to not follow through. I've done it a million times. Like, honestly, I have probably 10 million times where I'm like, oh, yeah, I should do that. I should take care of myself. I should go to therapy. I should end that relationship. I should start that thing over here, whatever it is. And there's this bully inside of our own head that is just like, no, you can't do it. You're not good enough. Nobody's going to believe you. How are you an authority on this? People are going to judge you. Like, I know some of you right now are having these thoughts. And if you are doing this to yourself, you have to understand the long term detrimental ramifications of that kind of momentum. On this show, we talk about momentum all the time. I think momentum's everything. It's the way that you create change in the world. It's that centrifugal motion that ultimately puts you in a position to be successful because you just keep going and going and going and going. And on a long enough timeline, as you continue to go, this really incredible thing happens in which your dreams, your ideas, your goals, your ambitions come to reality. They come to fruition. But in that place, before that happens, are these mindset shifts that have to take place, because you can get into negative momentum also. Like I'm gonna mean what I say right now. Like, I think about if I'm bullying myself, if I'm picking on myself, it's because I'm not putting healthy food in my body. I'm sitting on the couch all day. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not recording podcasts. I'm not coaching. I'm not educating. I'm not reading. I'm not learning. I'm not going deeper into my personal development. And so many of us do that because that momentum that is negative works in the same exact way as the momentum that is positive. And so you just start falling into this thing where suddenly it's like when you ride a bike for the first time, right? Or anytime actually. In order to stay up, you must have a certain amount of momentum, because without that speed forward, you are going to fall down. You're going to fall on your side. It is what it is. Try to get on a bicycle going less than one pedal a minute. It's impossible. You cannot stay on it. And what happens is we get on the bicycle of this thing called life, this journey that we're on, and we start pedaling and we're going. And for a moment, things are good. And then suddenly we're coasting. And then next thing you know, we have toppled over. And that happens in the good things and in the bad things of our life. And this idea about bullying is when that bicycle topples over, is you don't pull yourself back up. You don't pick yourself back up and say, you know what? I failed. I fell down. I learned. I iterated. Let's go again. And what happens is now that momentum, you're right, is gone. And so you start chasing this idea of, well, I already failed once. I fell off the bike. What's the point in getting back on it? Well, the point in getting back on it is that this is your fucking life. The point in getting back on it is that you have to make decisions about who you are. The point in getting back on it is, who do you want to be tomorrow? And who do you have to be today in order to be that tomorrow? And that's what this entire process is. And that bully in your head, those thoughts, those negative ideations that have been implanted in you, if you listen to those, you know, as well as I do, you're not going to be successful. And so you have to challenge that narrative by doing incredibly difficult things. And so, in doing those incredibly difficult things, even in the moments of doing them, we will go to this place in our head where we go, well, I'm not worthy. I don't deserve it. Why would anyone believe me? I'm not an authority, blah, blah, blah. And the only way I found that you shut those up, that you squelch those, is you continue to follow through anyway. It's the same reason why I do a podcast every day of the year, right? There's purpose behind it because it helps me grow, helps me further solidify. There's a reason why I sign up for physical endurance events, because I want to be able to push myself harder than I've ever been so that I can determine and understand whether or not I do have the capability to be the person that I know I'm capable of being tomorrow. And in that voice, people ask me all the time, well, don't you have that voice? Don't you ever feel like you're stuck? Don't you want to give up? And the answer is, of course I do. But I don't allow that voice to supersede the voice that says, I'm going to go forward. And so when that bully in my head pops up, I tell him to shut the fuck up. He doesn't get a say in this conversation. He does not get a plate at this table. He's not coming into this conversation in any capacity. And I think people have to recognize, like, if I were to give you a tool that I think is incredibly practical, it's understanding the truth that sometimes you have to force yourself into being nice to yourself. Like, really, like, I know that's a crazy concept, but you do have to force yourself. You have to be like, shut up, evil me. I'm going to let good, gracious, kind, hopeful, compassionate, empathetic, sympathetic me lead the charge for a minute. Shut the fuck up. It's weird because, like, it is kind of like you're bullying yourself. So it's like this weird juxtaposition. But at the same time, it's like you're doing it for the betterment of yourself. There's a quote that I read from Jordan Peterson today that actually kind of prompted this conversation. I'm going to read to you. It says, it is not virtuous to be victimized by a bully, even if that bully is oneself. There's no virtue, right? There's no virtue in pulling yourself down. There's no virtue in this idea that you can destroy yourself, right? There's nothing about that is virtuous. And if you do not know what virtue means, I'm going to read you the definition. You know how I feel about definitions. It's very, very important. Virtue is the quality or practice of moral excellence. It is the practical moral excellence. It is conformity of one's life and conduct to moral and ethical principles. Think about that for a second. Moral and ethical principles. It is immoral to beat yourself up. It is not ethical to destroy yourself. So let's go in this a little bit more. I want to share this with you because I think it's important. So let's look up the word ethical because I want you to be able to make meaning of this, right? And this is a word that for me for a very long time I've been trying to make a deeper meaning of. And that's why I was really struck by this quote I read earlier. Ethical means being in accordance with the accepted principles of right and wrong that govern conduct. Being in accordance with the accepted principles of right and wrong that govern conduct. Being in accordance. Being in accordance, that's alignment. That's about choice. That's about decision. That's about putting yourself in a position to be successful. Are you doing things in accordance with the life that you want to have? Right? And bullying yourself is not going to fucking get you there. Destroying yourself is not going to get you there. Being kind to yourself, showing up, being disciplined, executing, going to therapy, getting a coach, reading the books, all of the things that we talk about all the time, that's how you get to where you want to go. And so if you want to stop bullying yourself, it's about showing up for yourself. It's about being the person that you know you're capable of being and living with ethical behaviors and being virtuous for the right purposes because you're seeking excellence. And excellence should be defined by you. Excellence, while you can look at it and think to yourself, okay, that means this, like think about what it means. It is about this idea of being who you want to be. And for me, excellence is very simple. I ask myself, did I do everything in my power to be the person capable of being who I want to be tomorrow, today? And if the answer is no, then I know I did not operate in excellence that day. And then instead of beating myself up, I say, all right, what do I actually need to do right now to get there? Because if the day ain't over, we ain't done. And, I've told you guys this before. There's been moments in my life where, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. I did not finish doing the thing I said I was going to do. I'm going to go execute. I'm going to go do it because discipline is everything. And so if you want to stop bullying yourself, if you want to start being a person of virtue in your own life, if you want to start being a purpose-driven person who loves themselves, who cares about themselves, who honors themselves, who shows up, it is not about beating yourself up. It is instead about doing what it is that you know you need to do to propel you forward. And so much of that just starts with the way you're talking to yourself, right? And we've talked about this before. Kindness is everything. So think about who you need to be today. Don't bully yourself. You already have the fucking world to do that for you. Show up for yourself today with kindness, with gratitude, with empathy, with sympathy, with hope, with compassion, and ultimately with grace. And until next time, my friends, be unbroken. I'll see ya.